Here is a walkthrough of what you're entitled to as a user in the EU, and what your remedies are if your right to data protection is infringed. The GDPR ensures you have many rights regarding access to your data and information about how they can handle it. The controller and processor are under obligations to handle your data according to the principles and rules in the GDPR. But there is always a risk that an organisation could mishandle your data. When a company or an organisation doesn't comply with the regulation, the main consequence is a fine imposed by a supervisory authority. This is important for you, especially if the organisation doesn't comply with the rules of consent. If they do not respond to your request or disregard your rights related to automatic profiling. Organisations can be fined up to 2% or 4% of their annual turnover from the preceding year. Imagine a well-established social media platform which makes billions of dollars. Although it seems like they have endless money trees growing in their backyard, these fines will actually hurt them. A turnover could be $27 billion, and a fine of 4% would then be about $1.1 billion. Add these fines together and they would have lost around 16%, or $4.4 billion, simply because they just didn't comply with the GDPR. These fines work to ensure that organisations will comply with the GDPR to the best of their ability. Nevertheless, there's always a risk that either mistakes or direct violations of your rights could occur, such as a data breach through an accidental leak of personal data or a hack. In the case of a high-risk breach of your rights, the organisation who had your data must inform you about the consequences of the breach and provide you with the contact information of the data protection officer, from whom you can obtain more information. You must also be informed of how they are trying to mitigate the breach and secure it against future breaches. All of this must be communicated to you in plain and understandable language, meaning they cannot drown you in lawyer mumbo-jumbo. If your rights have been infringed, you can file a complaint with the data authority against the organisation, or even file a lawsuit. If you have suffered any damage as a result of the organisation not complying with the GDPR, you have the right to compensation determined by a judge in a trial initiated by you. It is possible to get free legal advice from your Europe Advice, which is a service specialised in EU law. To sum up, the GDPR assures your entitlement as a user and imposes liability and fines on organisations who do not comply with the regulation. The GDPR makes sure that your personal data is always legally protected through the entire life cycle of the processing of your data, also in case of data breach.